and welcome everyone to Star Trek Sunday. Hello, Captain Quinn. Great to see you. And of course, happy Pride Month to all our LGBTQ plus everyone. To everyone and allies as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we go. I'm Stu Jackson. With me is
Keira C. Georgeson. Oh dear. Hello. It's nice to be back.
That was a smooth, seamless start there. How are you doing, Keira?
Absolutely fantastic, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing really, really well. And we're representing both parts of the show today, aren't we? Loving it.
Oh, yeah.
You're rocking it with that, with your Jadzia cosplay.
Thank you so much. And if you're watching and wondering why I'm wearing a Next Gen uniform instead of Deep Space Nine, it's because I don't actually own a DS9 Science Officer uniform, but I did find a picture of Jadzia, I think maybe from the first episode of DS9, where she's wearing the Next Gen uniform. So she did wear this at one point. It makes sense in my head.
She did when she boarded, in fact, Deep Space Nine with
That's the one.
Dr. Bashir, and she came on board on the shuttle. She was wearing the Next Gen uniform.
She probably got rid of it because it just reminded her of Bashir's awful flirting.
He was a bit incelish. He was,
oh, bless him.
That was uncomfortable at times. Captain Quinn there saying Captain Quinn's been to a Pride Parade in their uniform and defo a friend.
Love that.
The way to be. The way to be. Absolutely. So, we've got an exciting episode today. We've already been talking about it because we're going to review the Deep Space Nine episode, Blood Oath.
An absolutely great episode. And following that, we'll be doing a deep dive into the original Enterprise, captained by Kirk.
This one behind me with the orange. We'll be taking a visit to the Divine Treasury.
And as always, we'll be finishing off with the latest Star Trek news.
Indeed, and probably worth a mention if anyone's wondering about your cosplay section, Kira's cosplay.
Oh yes, there is no Kira's cosplay this week, but next week I will have an exciting addition for you. Not makeup this time. I'm making a prop, and you might get to see glimpses of it if you follow me on TikTok or Twitter. But if not, then it will be a surprise for next week.
Yay, absolutely. Where can people follow you on TikTok and Twitter, Kira?
If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at Lieutenant Keira, or you can follow me on TikTok at Kira Spirit, which is an old username and I can't change it, so it's irrelevant to Star Trek, but it is all Star Trek content.
You haven't thought of starting a new one, or?
I've got loads of followers on TikTok now. I don't want to start again.
No, absolutely. Oh, and Captain Quinn's already following. Captain Quinn gave us the canonic explanation for the difference in uniforms was that, of course, you're wearing the ship's uniform, and, of course, the newer uniforms were transferred over from space stations where they were already in use. That's the canonic explanation. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, shall we just dive straight in there, Kira?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, Deep Space Nine, Blood Oath. I love this episode. I mean, it's Deep Space Nine, so of course I'm going to love it. Series 2, it's one of the rare good episodes from Series 1 and 2. There aren't that many to choose from. But it is towards the end. It's episode 19 and aired on the 27th of March 1994.
Fun fact, that was a month and a week after I was born. Every week, Stu. Every week I'm going to remind you.
Every week.
So this episode follows three legendary Klingons as they come to DS9 to see if Jadzia will participate in a blood oath that they made with Dax's previous host, Curzon. Although not all of them want her to participate to begin with.
No, and it's quite an interesting. It's interesting to view how they reacted to her suddenly being female and younger and what have you. Less about the younger, more about the female, I noticed.
Yeah, I think I watched this episode not long ago actually because I'm running through Deep Space Nine at the moment, but I watched it again today just to refresh my memory. And something I did pick up on is that there is a bit of tension about their old friend Curzon suddenly being a woman, and do they want a woman around, and a woman couldn't possibly do what we can do, and things like that. And I think maybe I just skipped over it the first time, but actually it felt more prominent to me today, and it was interesting to see how they dealt with it and how, Jadzia's got a massively thick skin to be able to deal with that and be like, well, I can do it. She just got on with it.
I mean, yeah, she handles it really, really well. But I think culturally, as a society, it tells us where we were at that time, because we are looking at, 27 years ago. I know. So, society it did have a different view on let's say trans rights and things like that. We now look at things a lot better than we did back then as a society.
Yeah, definitely. And the moment between Jadzia and I think it's Kor, is it Kor? When he hugs her and says, my old friend Curzon, and she says, oh, it's Jadzia now, and he says, my old friend Jadzia, and it's just one of those moments that although, the character of Jadzia isn't trans, it's the symbiont that's been passed from host to host, that moment has been used by people on social media to sort of demonstrate how easy it is actually just to respect someone's new name or pronouns, and that's the attitude we should all have towards those sort of things. So yeah, quite right about that, and I really do love that moment. Even though she isn't trans, it is a nice moment to witness and see what people can be doing.
Yeah, well, I've always and I'm outside the LGBTQ community, but I like to think of myself as an ally where I possibly can be. But I've always seen Trill in that regards as a good metaphor, at least for trans issues.
Yeah,
or at
that's
least
a good point.
Maybe not for trans people themselves, but for the people around them and the way that they react to the Trill. You do have. Oh, go on.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, we have to remember as well that up until, I can't remember when it was changed, but up until quite recently, there was quite strict regulations on what you could show on television and what you couldn't. And actually having metaphors for those things was a way around it. And so they, Trek has been quite progressive since the beginning. And so for them to be able to demonstrate allyship without outwardly saying we're allies is probably one of the easier ways they could get around those regulations in order to say we are still progressive. And it's different now. You can see I've seen pictures and articles about characters in Discovery who are LGBTQ, and I think it's a lot easier these days to be very outward about those things. But, in the 90s, it wasn't so easy. So metaphor is probably the easiest way for them to do that.
Totally, and of course, I mean, people talk about the progressiveness of the original series, and it's the first network TV show to feature an interracial kiss and all this. But let's not forget, Deep Space Nine was the first network show to show a lesbian kiss, and that was Jadzia.
Was it? Oh, when her the ex-wife of one of her previous hosts.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, that was, and I remember it because obviously I'm much older, and I remember it coming out, and it was a big deal. It was a huge thing at the time.
Was there not a kiss on Next Generation? Do you know who was the Trill that Beverly was sort of hooking up with, who then got a new host who was a woman. Did they kiss?
Well, the symbiote went to Riker first of all, and they sort of continued their frisson, as it were, and then the symbiote went to a woman, and Beverly couldn't handle it.
Yeah, but did they kiss before she decided she couldn't handle it?
Don't believe so, no.
No, oh.
I think they went to, and then she pulled away. She couldn't quite.
Yeah. Oh, they were so close. Jadzia beat them to it.
Yeah. So next gen could have been better about it, but I mean, they were of their time, and of course there were so many rules and regulations about what you could and couldn't show. And is it better to show something close than just not show anything? I don't know. But anyway, that's where we are. Gosh, we're getting all political, but it is Pride Month, so
it's Pride Month. We're allowed to be prideful.
And I think it's important that these issues are discussed. Coming from a generation that did not talk about issues and all the damage that did, I can tell you we need to talk about these things. Even if we get the conversation wrong sometimes, it's better that it's out and talked about.
Definitely, I agree fully.
Wow. Getting all...
I think it's good to have these conversations, and I especially appreciate my conversations with you about these things, because we are from different generations, and to talk with someone from a different generation about these things and know that you have been on the right side of things and still are, it's refreshing for me, because not many people are like that, and I really appreciate hearing your views on things.
I mean, we're going way off top, but do you know what? I will hold up my hands here and say I spent a lot of my life on very much the wrong side of these issues. I was raised to be racist, misogynistic, bigoted, and for a long time, when I was young and an idiot, a pillock, and didn't know any better, I went along with it. I didn't question it. It's only really as I got older and I started meeting more diverse people that I started even questioning these things. Now I question the crap out of everything.
Yeah.
So and I do get it wrong. I get it wrong to this day. But I'm always trying and I'm always improving, and I think that's the way. I think people like your generation and the generations that will come after will get it way, way, way better than we ever did.
Hey, one day people will be telling me everything I learned was wrong, and that, I should be more progressive. And, I feel like it's not you learn something and then you stop. It's a continual cycle of learning and observation, reflection, and progression on from that. And I feel like if you can constantly learn new things, absorb things, and and move on with them, I think that's the way people should be. And to say that we finished learning is a mistake. So I'm always open to learning new things as well.
It's the old trope. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And as long
I
as
love
it's
that.
Constantly improving, that's all it's about.
Yeah.
Right, shall we get back onto some Star Trek and this particular episode? I mean, so the Pride, kind of those issues, which I think are really important. I'm so glad we talked about them, because I'd actually forgotten those issues till I rewatched it recently, like this week, and in fact I watched this one twice. Just to remember, right, I'm not looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, am I? I'm not, so I did rewatch it twice. So I think those are real issues. But what about the rest of the episode in content? What did you think?
I was saying this to you earlier, but it surprised me how differently I remembered the episode, even though I only watched it a couple of months ago. To what actually happened, because I remembered the battle at the end and all the fighting and stuff quite vividly, but the bits I'd sort of forgotten were actually the main part of the episode, where Jadzia is sort of convincing them to let her go with them. She actually spends more than half the episode trying to be invited on this mission, and I'd forgotten that, and I think that's quite a nice allegory for the struggles that women have been through in order to be included in things. And I think that's that's an important thing to look at too. And I quite enjoyed all of her determination and the honor and the way that she wanted to respect her godson's death and things like that. It's really cool. Very cool.
Well, I suppose I have a different perspective on that, because canonically Trill are not supposed to be beholden to their previous hosts' debts and lives, and such a big thing is made about that I know it's sort of it's glossed, well, it's my way of honouring Curzon, but if you don't it seemed a bit pick and choose when they honour and when they don't, and it's even mentioned in the episode, of course. I think it's Koloth. Oh, no, Kang, I think, mentions it.
Yeah. And I think even Jadzia knows, she's not obligated to fulfill this oath, and she's, there's no real reason for her to do it. I think it's just a personal decision that would probably be seen unfavourably by a lot of other Trail. I don't think that they would agree with it. And then I started thinking, how much would they disagree with that? Because I know it's mentioned in when you see the ex-wife from her previous host, that if you re-enter into a relationship with a host from a previous lifetime, there are serious ramifications for that. I think it's one of them is that the symbiont won't be given a new host after this one dies, isn't it?
Well, they get exiled from Trill, so that in of itself, it's a knock-on effect that they wouldn't be able to get a new host, rather than a direct punishment. But that's the upshot. Yeah.
So what would the rest of Trill society think about this? I mean, a blood oath is not that far from a commitment to loving someone.
Well, a commitment and a contract is a commitment and a contract. I'm sure Mad Turnips will be able to give us the Ferengi quote, Ferengi rule of acquisition that tells us a contract is a contract is a contract in the chat. Speaking of in the chat, hello to Jaunty Goblin. Great to see you here. Thanks for joining us. And we've had a few comments about it. Mad Turnips actually says that their attitude towards Jadzia is a bit odd, because Klingons never had an issue with female warriors. I don't think it was so much the fact that she was female, more the fact that she's not the person that they remember, perhaps. I'm not sure.
I think perhaps if the Dax symbiont had been put into a new male host, they would have viewed that differently. But I don't know. We'll never know.
Quite possibly. I think there was a bit of manoeuvring for storytelling purposes with this episode. I mean, it's not the only episode to do that, and it happens. I mean, we know we're both industry people, so we know how often it really goes on. Yeah,
when you're watching a TV show, there's always creative liberties being taken here and there for the advancement of the plot, for the enrichment of the storyline. These things happen, so as long as we don't think too deeply about it, which we do on this show, but never mind.
But it's still, I mean, it's just a really fun episode to watch.
I love this one, and I was actually talking to someone earlier today, and they said to me, I tend to skip that episodes. I find Klingon episodes really boring, and I was like, but Jadzia's in it, and they were like, oh yeah, Jadzia's a bit boring too, and I was like, what? No.
Do you know what? Right, I made the shocked face, and I'm going to thinking about this a little bit. When Terry Farrell first took on the role, she was absolutely green and wet behind the ears when she took it on. Not that she wasn't a talented actor, because she's always been a talented actor. She had to be to get that role. But she was inexperienced. And I think it did take a good couple of years for her to find her feet and find her self-expression with the character. And until then, she does. She did initially play it quite a sort of cold, almost Vulcan.
That's a fair observation, actually, because it's not until the sort of later seasons where she really sort of comes out and she gets quite cheeky later on. Like, she's got all these cheeky facial expressions, which I think in season 1 and part of season 2 you don't often get. But yeah, I think that's an accurate thing to say.
Yes, and Captain Quinn rightly says she was in Hellraiser. She was in fact in Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. I can tell you, because I'm a fan of the Hellraiser series as well.
I'll have to watch the third one then. I've only seen the first two.
Oh, really? Oh, I last year during lockdown I watched all except for the latest one. So I think there's 9 of them now, or something like that.
Oh,
and they've got the series that they're working on as well. Oh yeah, it's a bit of a thing. There are more than 3. There are. Yeah, it's coming up for 9 or 10. I forget how many now. Yeah. it did get a bit that way, definitely. I do like the original ones. And yes, George Goblin makes a comment. Have we seen What We Left Behind, the documentary where Terry actually talks about this? I have seen it. Have you seen What We Left Behind as well?
No, I haven't. I've been meaning to, since it's by the same people who are doing the Voyager documentary. I've been meaning to watch it, but I've just been so busy. Yeah. It's on the list along with Picard and Discovery and all the other things I've got to do.
It's definitely well worth the watch. And yeah, it's 455 Media, isn't it? I started watching For the Love of Spock again, which they also did recently.
Yeah, they're on a roll, aren't they? They've got so many excellent documentaries under their belt.
They are indeed, and yes, as Captain Quinn says, you can buy it from YouTube. You can rent it. I got mine on Amazon. I think I paid for it on Amazon. Yeah, well worth seeing. Well worth seeing. And we might have some news about a documentary coming later. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Shall we go for some trivia about this Deep Space Nine episode?
Let's trivialise it.
So, trivialise it. Yeah, I like that. So this episode, we've mentioned them already, the characters of Kor, Koloth and Kang. The 3 actors that played them reprised their roles from the original series as those characters. John Colicos played Kor in 1966 in Errand of Mercy. Let me get this right. Yes, Errand of Mercy in 1967 was when we first saw John Colicos as Kor. William Campbell played Koloth in The Trouble with Tribbles, of course, and Michael Ansara played Kang in Day of the Dove in 1968.
And before this episode entered into production, they were checking to see if Michael Ansara, John Colicos and William Campbell were still acting. They found the first 2 really easily, but had difficulty finding Campbell because he was actually doing Star Trek cruise conventions at the time, which seems to be quite popular with.
Well, there might be a good reason why William Campbell was particularly popular amongst Star Trek fans, because this was not the only character he played. He didn't just play Koloth, he also played the fabulous Trelane in The Squire of Gothos in 1967. General Trelane retired. Now retconned into being a member of the Q Continuum.
Yeah.
Officially.
And there is a sort of in-joke built into this episode when Kor forces open the holosuite doors after Quark and Odo turn off the power. They make the same sound as the USS Enterprise's doors from the original series, which I didn't know until we did this trivia section. So that's pretty cool. I think that's a lovely little Easter egg there.
Yeah, I love little things like that when they put them in. Now, the late Christopher Collins had previously played another Mark Alien. He played Dirg in The Passenger. And this was, sadly, also, Blood Oath was his last Star Trek episode as he died from a cerebral hemorrhage 77 days after the episode aired. It's quite sad.
That's really unlucky. It has been considered as well that this episode was based off the film Crippled Avengers from 1978. And they thought it was a possible influence because the film is about three martial arts warriors joined by a fourth who seek revenge upon a warlord and his son who wronged them and left them crippled. And the only difference between Blood Oath and Crippled Avengers is that in the 1978 film, only Wang Yi dies. So,
that's one to see. I don't know if it's on Netflix, Crippled Avengers. I've not seen it myself.
No,
so
I've not.
Many things have been taken.
You know what? I've been really getting into sort of martial arts stuff recently. I've been watching Cobra Kai on Netflix. Absolutely love it, and it's making me want to do martial arts.
Really?
But yeah, so
any particular martial arts you fancy?
I really want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because my brother-in-law does it and he loves it and says it's really fun. So I think I'm going to give that a go.
Excellent. You don't hear much about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do you?
No, but I think it's quite a fun one because there's a lot of grappling and things like that. Like I don't think I'd be able to do karate because there's a lot of kicks and stuff, and I've got really dodgy knees, so kicking is not something I'd be good at. But I think BJJ is quite on the floor and quite sort of just more like wrestling, I think.
I did judo when I was very, 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 very young.
Did you like it?
8 and 9. No, I absolutely hated it. Broke my foot in an early lesson when I dropped a medicine ball on it.
Ow.
Now, I have thought if I was fitter, I mean, obviously I'm in no shape to be doing anything like that, but I always figured if I was, I would quite like to try Krav Maga.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, fair
enough. Looks quite fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, shall we do our deep dive on this little beauty right behind me? The original Enterprise.
Yes, and as you and some of our viewers may know, I'm not that much of an expert on the original series, so the stuff in this deep dive was really fun for me to find out as well. So I'll kick off with that the Enterprise was designed by Matt Jeffries, after whom the Jeffries tubes were named. And Gene Roddenberry wanted a design that would be striking, but stayed clear of the rockets or flying saucers, which were popular at the time.
Originally, the ship was going to be the Yorktown, and that was going to be the star of Star Trek. But it was actually Gene Roddenberry's fascination with the actual aircraft carrier Enterprise that inspired him to change the name, and a legend was born.
And speaking of the name, we'll talk about the NCC class, which is so despite Stu's claims in a previous show, there is some debate as to what NCC actually is an acronym for. So the 1975 blueprints say Naval Construction Contract. Matt Jeffries claims he simply took the NC from American civil aircraft and added a C from Soviet vessels. Stu claims it was New Constitution class, but is wrong. There has never been anything in canon to tell us what the acronym stands for to date. So I guess it could be anything you want.
Wrong. Do you know, I hold up my hands. I don't know. I actually don't know where I got that from. I've tried looking up where I got it from and I've no idea. I can only think I must have dreamt it and then thought it was real. So,
I'm sure I've heard that from other people as well. I don't think you're the only person to have thought that.
Okay. Maybe it is a thing there. Possibly. Captain Quinn has said that the ship is always the main store, and a little-known secret, Jeffrey Coombs plays all the main ships apart from the NX Defiant. Jeffrey Coombs plays all the parts in Star Trek. So, we know, of course, that the Enterprise, we know it as a Constitution class, but the original dedication plaque states it as a Starship class. which is a bit more generic. The Constitution, however, was a Class 1 heavy cruiser and were the premier vessels in the Federation in the latter half of the 23rd century.
The Enterprise was constructed in San Francisco Fleet Yards, but was assembled in space. Launched in 2245 as one of at least 12 Constitution class vessels at the time. It had an early refit prior to 2265, reducing the size of the deflector and the bridge and removing some now redundant spikes from the bottom collectors on the nacelles, as well as some other minor changes. She underwent a major refit around 2270, essentially building a new ship around the basic frame of the old one and replacing almost every major system. Her voyages came to an end in 2285 when she was destroyed in orbit of the Genesis planet in order to save her crew.
And now her watch is ended. Yes, she's had a number of captains in her time. Firstly, Robert April, later, of course, to be known as Commodore, who helped with the design and build along with his wife, who was Ship's Chief Medical Officer Sarah April. After 5 years in the chair, Robert handed over command to his first officer, Christopher Pike, who would then go on to command her for 15 years before James T. Kirk took over the big chair and set her off on her second 5-year mission. He was replaced briefly, of course, by Willard Decker following her major refit, but Kirk soon took back the reins.
Lovely. Well done, Kirk.
Control freak.
And one that would explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations. The Enterprise would boldly go where no one had gone before.
Lovely. Lovely. So, this brings us... actually, a very quick mention. We won't be seeing Ed in the chat today because Ed is currently on the road. He has said he will be watching later, so hello, Ed. I actually met Ed in person for the first time yesterday.
I saw the picture you put on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was actually
Ed that put it on, yeah.
Or was it on Facebook? I don't know, but it was nice to see you and him together and see you in your room of your Star Trek collectibles. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he got quite a lot of... I mean, he came in and, as many Star Trek fans do, like a kid in a toy shop, looking at which is absolutely... I love when people do that. But yes, he dropped in. He was down... Because, of course, he lives up north. But yeah, he was down sort of visiting family, so he dropped in for a quick cup of tea and a 1 metre socially distanced visit.
Love that.
Very, very nice. Because I've now known Ed for a little while through our various streams and what have you, so it was nice to actually meet in person. So hello, Ed. Ed of the future.
Hello, future Ed.
Now, something I think Ed didn't even notice is the subject of today's Divine Treasury. Now, with a bit of a first this week, in that this is the first time I'm going to share something with you that I have that I don't own. It is something on permanent loan. Let's go over and have a look at it. Or at least a part of it, because it is absolutely huge. It is the Playmates original series Enterprise, and you can see, I mean, it's like, that's the size of my hand. It is big. It's a big old ship. The Playmates ranges, of course, I mean, although they are plastic, are very, very nice. Nicely detailed, nice decals on them and what have you. This was actually released in 1995. It comes with a stand with the Starfleet insignia, and it lights up and makes noises. Now, I don't know if the noises will come through on the speaker. I hope so, but let's give it a go. That's the wall. Oh, I could see my microphone going mental there. There's, I think this might be scanners. Nope, that's photons. That's scanners. And that's phasers. Now you'll notice that only one of the Bussard collectors is actually lighting up. I need to have a look at why. They were both working, but yeah, I've no idea why that is. But it is lovely piece. Now, a little bit of a story. I mentioned that I don't actually own this. Bit of a story. I met Catherine, my partner, back 5 years ago now. We met speed dating, and it was on I think it was the 4th date we were on, so it was all still very early. We're both like seeing how we are getting on, and dipping our toe in the water, so to speak, relationship wise. I came round to her house. She invited me round. I didn't just turn up. And there on top of her drinks cabinet was this. And I instantly knew she was the one from there. I actually took a photo at the time because I got really, really excited and giddy, as you do. Would you like to see the photo?
Yes.
Yeah, here we go. That is the photo right there, holding this very ship. Catherine has grown her hair out quite a bit since then, but yeah, that was 5 years ago. So a bit of a story to this ship. So I wanted to share that all with you. There we go. That's the Playmates original series Enterprise.
That's so lovely. That is such a special thing that's got such a lovely bit of history to it. Thank you for sharing that.
You're very, very welcome. Yeah, it's nice when things have a personal connection. I mean, it's, to me, the whole of Star Trek's a personal connection anyway, but yeah, it is nice. It was later on I found out she'd never watched Star Trek, but and actually she'd got the Enterprise for her kids, who also never watched Star Trek. But I took it as a sign anyway. She has since watched a lot of Star Trek. She's not a Trekkie.
Good. Well, I doubt anyone could be your partner and avoid that.
It's yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Love that.
There we go.
So, shall we do Trek news?
Yeah, there's not much this week, is there? Unfortunately.
No, not a lot. But what we do have is okay. So our first bit of Trek news is with Strange New Worlds, and Rebecca Romaine, who plays Una, or Number One, in Strange New Worlds, has been dropping hints about what we can expect. So she said that there'll be standalone episodes and lighter than what we've seen from Discovery and Picard. But her character's backstory blew her mind, which sounds cool. And that Strange New Worlds will be full of Easter eggs to please audiences. So I hope everybody will be watching very carefully so that we can discuss some of those in future episodes of Star Trek Sunday.
Absolutely. I can see why they're going for a lighter take with Strange New Worlds, because one of the big criticisms that Discovery and Picard were getting is, it's too dark for Star Trek. It's too... I mean, people have clearly never watched Deep Space Nine, but yeah. We don't know yet, Captain Quinn, if Strange New Worlds will be on Netflix in the UK or not. We have no information. They're still filming right at the moment. But I'm looking forward to it anyway. I've got my Captain Pike uniform ready to wear when I watch it.
Yeah. I love Rebecca Romaine as well. I feel like she just doesn't age. Because I remember watching her in the X-Men films when I was a kid.
Hang on, we're talking about someone else. It's Rebecca Romijn.
Yeah, I think you say it like Remain.
Oh dear. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad then. Okay, sorry.
She plays Mystique in the X-Men films.
Does she? Is that the same person?
Yeah. In the older X-Men films, yeah.
The older. I remember them coming out. Right. Oh, I didn't realise that was actually her. Well, gosh.
Yeah, same person. But if you look at pictures of her from back then, she hasn't aged at all. She still looks really young.
I stand corrected, says the man in the orthopaedic shoes. Fantastic. Well, I mean, I obviously I know her as Mystique, and yeah, but I know her as Una as well. So yeah, I honestly didn't realise it was the same person. Brilliant.
Yeah,
that's blown my mind now.
How did you not know that?
I'm clearly not the Star Trek fan I thought I was, or I'm not the X-Men fan that I've never claimed to be anyway.
You've got to have the crossover.
That'd be interesting, an X-Men and Star Trek crossover.
Love that.
So, back onto news. So we mentioned earlier that we have news about another Trek-related documentary. And there is a documentary currently that they've already started filming called 1982 Greatest Geek Year Ever. 1982, of course, as many of us know, is the year that Wrath of Khan came out, and this is going to be a fundamental part of this documentary, including, they claim, never before heard stories about Wrath of Khan. That would be... So it's either something really minor, or we have really heard them, but they're not in the public eye. I don't know. I'm always a bit sceptical about claims like that. But it is going to at least include a deep dive on the Wrath of Khan. It's currently crowdfunding on Kickstarter, and they're planning a theatrical release of 2022, which will of course be the 40th anniversary from 1982. This isn't depressing at all. There are more details, of course, on Kickstarter.com, and if you search 1982 Greatest Geek Year Ever, you will be able to find it. When I last checked yesterday, they're currently on £3,000 so far funded out of a goal of just over 88,000. But it is very, very early days yet. Worth mentioning, I mean, 1982 was a hell of a year. When I started looking into it, I'm thinking, why are they doing 1982 in particular then? It was a hell of a year for geek culture films, because in the same year you had deep breath, Blade Runner, E.T., Tron, Conan, Dark Crystal, Time Rider, Secret of Nim, Airplane 2, Halloween 3, The Thing, Poltergeist, Creepshow, Basket Case, Q the Winged Serpent, Rambo First Blood, 48 Hours, Rocky 3, Firefox, Tootsie, Grease, and much, 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 much more. So yeah, 1982, hell of a year for film. Oh
my goodness! I wish I was alive in 1982. Fantastic bunch of films there.
Bye everyone.
I do love Blade Runner. Blade Runner is probably my favourite one on that list. Blade Runner and The Thing, I reckon.
Okay, yeah, The Thing is definitely up there for me. What about E.T. though?
I love E.T., but it's a bit too emotional for me, I think.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. I mean, as an UFO person, I'm quite intrigued in the whole ET thing, especially the whole rumour about Ronald Reagan visiting set and saying to someone, of course, this is more true than anybody here realises.
Oh. You know, another sort of UFO sort of film that I love from that around that era was Flight of the Navigator.
Yes.
Have you seen that one? I used to watch that all the time with my dad. Love that film. In fact, I prefer Flight of the Navigator to E.T. 100%.
Okay. Last Starfighter from that era as well.
Don't think I've seen that one.
Okay, that's one to look out for. That is one to look out for. So tell us, everyone in the chat, what is your... In fact, no, we're coming to the end of the show. Don't tell us in the chat. Go over to the Discovery. Go over to the Discord. The link is below. And tell us what your favourite 80s geek movie is. We'd love to chat to you about that sort of thing. But that's it for this week.
It is everything we've got for this week. That was quite a quick one, wasn't it? There wasn't a lot of news to go through.
Not a great deal of news. But we're outside of awards season now. You know, shows that are going on are going on. Shows that are not happening, nothing's happening with. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I do have a bit of trivia about Rebecca Romaine.
Okay.
You know the guy that plays Jack Ransom in Lower Decks?
Okay,
I've forgotten his name. Is it Jeremy somebody?
I'm just
but that's her
Jerry
husband
O'Connell.
anyway.
Oh, Jerry O'Connell. There you go.
That's him, Jerry O'Connell. Yeah, not Jerry.
Fair enough.
It might be Jerry. Yes, yeah, there we go. Captain Quinn's right there with you, Jerry O'Connell. And it is the BAFTAs tonight, yes. But I'd be very surprised if we saw Star Trek picking anything up at the BAFTAs. It not being British.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Well, we'll see.
But, you know.
But you can join us next time for a deep dive on religion in Star Trek, which will be an interesting one, I think.
It will indeed. I'm excited to get to grips on that one. And because we're discussing religion, what better film for us to review than the one where everybody meets God? So, we're going to be discussing Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And as a special event for that, because I know some of you have been really, really keen for us to review this, I'm going to be doing a watch-along on Wednesday evening, 9:30 UK time, here on Twitch. Now, I won't be able to stream the film on Twitch, but you'll have a picture of me. Wait, are you available, Keira, or...
I could be available. I might be here. I might be there for that. I can do a watch along, possibly. We'll see.
Excellent. So, so the idea will be we'll get everything set up. We'll get our DVDs in our PCs or our video players or whatever ready. Video players. I'm showing my age now. And we will all hit play at the same time, and you'll get myself and Keira discussing it and talking our way through it as we go. I had a look on Netflix. I couldn't find it, Captain Quinn, so I'll have another look. If it is on Netflix, fantastic. That's a great place to watch it, or if you've got it on DVD, or if you watch it on Amazon Prime, however you like to watch it. A wedding to go to in Utah. Not to worry. You will be able to watch the video on demand. And, of course, you can press play at the same time so you can watch it with us even on demand at a later time. But yes, that's going to be one to look forward to.
Definitely. And next week, I will be providing you with more Keira's cosplay content. This is a promise. I will not let you down. And as I said earlier, it will not be more makeup this time. I am building a prop. So, if you tune into my Twitter at Lieutenant Keira or my TikTok at Keira Spirit, you may be able to see some sneak previews. But until then, it will be a surprise because it could go all terribly wrong. But then, as always, we'll be following up with the latest news from the Trekverse. So make sure you're here if you want to find some stuff out.
Do you know what? I think I'd rather watch a creating video of someone where they do get it wrong, because whenever I try these things, they invariably go wrong. So seeing how to get over that is better than seeing someone do it perfectly.
Fair point. Well, we'll see how it goes. You might get that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Something to look forward to. In the meantime, thank you all ever so much for joining us. And of course, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Until next time, bye.